yards. Are you kidding me? That's a deal. So if there's two tips you walk out of here with, O'Hero braid and O'Hero fluorocarbon are worth it. They're worth it. Any other questions so far?
Yes.
I'll take your three.
What pound leader do you use
For flats fishing?
Yes.
I like to give myself a chance if snook are around. If I feel like there's an opportunity to catch a snook, I like to start off with 30. But if the water's real clear and I know I'm fishing a zone that's where I'm seeing redfish and not really snook around, I will drop down and use 25 first. And then if it costs me bites where I feel like I'm not getting bit, I'll go down to 20. I don't like to start too light, too fast. In the wintertime, I will use 20 all the time. As soon as November comes, the water gets real clear and all this algae gets out of the water, and we start getting lower tide, I'll start with 20 and sometimes go to 15. But this time of year, because snook are still active, I like to try to use 30. I like to try to use 30.
How long a leader would you use?
For fishing redfish, I like to use a long leader. That's my ring. I got it.
Sounds like a Shimano.
You can get that at Zed's ringtones, by the way.
It don't sound like a Daiwa, it sounded like Shimano.
That's actually what it is. That's what it is. It's a TLD, I think. Or something.
Yeah.
Leader length. I like long leaders. I use artificials a lot, so I nip them down, and I'm impatient. If something's not working, if I get a refusal on white, I don't go like to tan. I like cut that color off and go to a dark color like root beer right away. I make a big change. So I'm constantly nipping down. So I'll start off with maybe that much leader, almost 4 feet, 3.5, 4 feet. And once I get down to where it's about that long, I change. And I know it's probably time to change at that point anyway, so that I'm not getting wear. Because you get a lot of wear here in the braid and a lot through the roller bearing and the bail. So those are two zones that get a lot of wear. So it's probably good to change that. But I like long leaders. I tie real small knots so that they go through. This particular rod series here is got a great low, throws real well. I wish the eyes were a little bit larger, and they're going to build them that way for me to accommodate that. So I think you're going to see from Falcon rods in the future that they're going to build a flats and bay type of Falcon rod that's going to be this exact blank. Because this blank for flats fishing, I feel, is the best blank I've ever used. It's called a light Gulf spin that Falcon makes. And it loads so good that if it had a little bit bigger eyes if this was the eye size, which I call a size 8, if it had this eye size all the way up the rest of the rod, it would allow those knots to go through there for most folks a lot easier. I tie a little knot so it doesn't bother me too much. But you know how when you make a cast and it seems like it wraps around your tip all the time, drives you crazy, you know what causes that? That knot hits one of those smaller guides and creates slack for a second and loops it around the end. And you're like, oh, and it always happens when you see something going on, you want to get it over there, and you're like, and you try to do that, and that's when you shock the rod, and that thing gets wrapped up around your tip, and then all kinds of bad words coming out of your mouth. That's when it happens.
What kind of knot do you tie?
A uni to uni knot, most of the time. You can tie a surgeon's knot, that works just as well. It's a little bit bulkier. With braid to fluorocarbon, because they're slick, especially with the higher end performing braids, they're real slick, and that's why they cast so far. They'll tend to slip some. Like I like Albrights and I like no-name knots, and I've tried them with this material before, but it's not as guaranteed. Sometimes they'll pull free. You got to tie a lot more loops to make them really seat right. Like tarpon fishing or mono to fishing, mono to fluorocarbon fishing, that's all I use. I don't use unis. But for this type of fishing, they're easy to tie. As you get older, your eyes start failing. And I can tie that knot in my sleep too in the field. You're like, you can do it just from memory, where it's tougher. I mean, you can tie more technical. You can go and learn blood knots and everything, but you really don't have to. Is what it is. And if you want to learn how to tie knots and really good knots, go to YouTube, type in the knot you want to learn, and sit there and watch it. You can watch on YouTube. Mark Sosin's stuff is great. It's perfect. He can teach you, and then you can start it and stop it, start it and stop it. And I don't care how your mind works. If you think you're dyslexic, you just can't do it. I'm telling you, you start it knot. He'll teach you how to tie a good knot. And YouTube, it's all free. It's great. I just go on there and learn how to do it. Easy gig. There was another one that had it in
Yeah, top water plugs. Come October, I've been doing a smaller plug in the summer.
right?
October's kind of right before winter. What size are you talking 3, 5, somewhere in between, or you just go with both and hope for the best?
If you got a bluebird day with real still water, smaller top waters work better. If you got a day where there's a little bit more chop on the water, more clouds, or there's a lot of mullet around, like if you throw that mirror mullet XL and there's a bunch of chopping big black mullet on the flat that you're fishing, that thing's going to land up there, and they may never even see it or hear it. It's going to be like invisible. That's better for calmer water or away from lots of mullet. And I'm talking lots of mullet. Then I throw a sheet dog because it's loud. It's extremely loud. It gets noticed, and they see it. Fish get really comfortable when they're in those mullet schools because they're a diversion. The water's silted out. There's noise. They're colliding with each other. They're colliding with the bottom. And all they think is, here's an offering that's coming by that got disrupted. It's an easy meal for me, and that's how they feed most of the time. But when you have a big trout or a big redfish that's outside of mullet, they're all by themselves or with a few other redfish scattered on a flat that's crystal clear, and you go through that plug up there. Well, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they are receptive, but most times they're not. That's when that bait is better. Then you put a mirror mullet XL on. But the mirror mullet, the original version, I don't know what number it is. It's hard to keep up with all those numbers. But it's the smaller version of that. I always struggled with it because one piece of grass hits it, it fouls it. Or pinfish would take it out. You're working it just perfect, thinking, okay, any second. And then a pinfish this big would go up there and wipe it out and get caught. And then you see a trout or a redfish spook off, and you're like, so I never really embraced that one. But when he came out with that one, it was perfect. That one's going to get a lot of love. You'll see a lot of guys catch fish. You'll hear a lot of people talk about that.
What's your favorite color on that one?
I like a bone plug is my favorite color. That's why a lot of the television shows you see me shoot in top water is a portion of it or all of it. It's with bone most of the time. And I discovered that by accident. It's not like I chose bone. I used to be, Eric doesn't give those plugs away. And he didn't always give them to me early on. So I'd work those baits. And a lot of the base color of plugs is this ABS plastic look that's sort of like the color of your moho net. It's just sort of that bone color. Well, I just change out hooks and keep using those plugs. I can still catch fish on them. And I always think, this bone, there might be something to this bone stuff. I went and did an event on the Redfish Cup out in Texas a couple of years ago. And bone's a huge color out there. So I just always throw bone. And bone has just been a great color for me because most people here throw chrome or white. Most of the time we're chartreuse belly. And bone plugs work fantastic. They don't throw a lot of light out is what it is. You can use them, if it were dark